Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again. It's been a while, but it's story time again. Now, this is a very special story, mainly because it also happens to be my story. I've heard a couple people tell their stories of how they came to finally understand how the world really works. So I figured I'd throw mine out, mainly because there's something unique about it. I can actually pinpoint the exact moment where I started to get it, where the first crack in my statist armor finally appeared. I can actually name the exact moment. I'll never forget it, believe me. So anyway, when I was growing up and when I was out of high school, I was pretty much a total liberal. Yep, that's my confession. Not only was I once a Mormon, I was once a total liberal. Thought the government was the greatest thing. What would we ever do without it? It's just a great thing. It was a sign of civilization. The two just went. Government and civilization just went hand in hand. You couldn't have civilization without it. I loved healthcare. I loved the regulating, stopping all the evil businessmen from trying to do bad stuff, whatever the heck it was. And and the funny thing about that is, when liberals argue with me, they try to use arguments that I've already heard myself so many times, and it's just funny how they argue it as though I've never heard these things before. Anyways. Now, anyway, on to the story. I still believed, oh nice. I still believed, all the usual stuff about the state, and, for many years after I graduated. I think, the strange thing is, who I really have to thank for breaking me out of it was, of all people, Michael Moore. Yeah, I know, that sounds crazy, but just hear me out, you'll understand why. I watched Bowling for Columbine and Fahrenheit 9/11, and at the time I thought they were great films. I thought he really knew what he was talking about. I really thought my eyes were opened by him. And in some ways they were, but in other ways they were only blinded even further. I started to get my doubts about him, and looking at his reaction to the floods of Louisiana and stuff like that. But what really did it was, I would later come across a video by a student filmmaker called 6 Degrees from Truth, in which he addressed a lot of points in Bowling for Columbine and Fahrenheit 9/11 that were somewhat less than truthful. And sadly, his evidence against him was quite damning, I have to say. But the exact moment was, I had also watched a video by, I think it was called Celsius, I can't remember what it was called, something like that, where these other guys went in and talked to the people that Michael Moore interviewed to get more of the story from them. What I remember so clearly was that there was a part in the film where he was going after Charlton Heston for supposedly starting up a gun rally right after the Columbine shooting, and portrayed him as being a real cold-hearted bastard for that. Well, the student filmmaker, he pointed out that Charlton Heston's speech was actually taken out of context, and pointed out the fact that he was wearing a Columbine ribbon when he was doing the speech, indicating he was in fact very respectful. The other video I saw, Celsius whatever, I'm sorry, I cannot remember what it was called. It was too long ago. They talked to a lot of people at the gun rally and said that Charlton Heston never said "from my cold dead hands" at that rally. That was in fact taken from another rally. I find it hard to believe. What, Moore actually spliced together different clips to produce an effect that was not truthful? It was unthinkable to me. Why would he lie about something like that? Well, I had to know the truth. I thought for a second and thought, let's put both these stories together. If this is true, then Charlton Heston should not have a Columbine ribbon on his jacket when he does "From My Cold Dead Hands," and then have it on when he's doing the rest of his speech. And I looked, and lo and behold, The ribbon was not there when he was doing the gun thing. And I also saw clips of his entire speech not taken out of context and realized he in fact was very respectful. It was that moment where the first crack in my armor appeared, where I looked at this and I was in utter disbelief. I didn't know what to make of it at first. I just couldn't understand it. Why would he lie? Why would he lie about something like this? And of course the question that comes after that is, well, if he lied about that, what else did he lie about? And this question ended up coming up over and over as everything all started to unravel. Well, if they lied about this, what else did they lie about? Well, if they lied about that, well, then what else did they lie about? And years and years of lies and half-truths I'd been told all throughout my life all began to come apart on me. I began to be curious. I began to wonder, well, what was true and what wasn't. I had to re-examine everything. It's a very humbling experience, I have to say, and it's very difficult. It requires you to morally and logically analyze people you've known and trusted all your life. It's not an easy thing to do. And at first, there's the shock part. Afterwards, there's a period of anger. You begin to wonder, why didn't anybody tell me this? Why? And then the anger gets directed at yourself. You start thinking, you realize people were trying to tell me this. They'd been trying to tell me it for years, but I wouldn't listen. And then you get angry at yourself. You think, why didn't I see it? It was all there. All the clues were there. Why didn't I see it? Why did I just go along with this all my life? It's a very hard thing to come to grips with, which is why I don't tend to blame people who don't want to go down that road, because it's a very hard thing to do. Believe me, I do sympathize with those of you who are going through it now. But for those of you who are, I have some very encouraging words for you. It may seem tough now, it may seem like this is just going to tear your soul apart. I will tell you from personal experience, once you've done it, you will never go back. You'll wish you had done it years ago. I am not unhappy for realizing how the world works, for realizing the true nature of statism and everything, for realizing that so many things I'd been told all my life were lies. I'm glad I know that now. I would never trade it for anything. I would never go back. Never. Because after the period of shock and the pain and the anger, after you get past that, it is so liberating. It feels like breathing fresh air for the first time in your whole life. Like just knowing the truth, it's very satisfying, I have to say. And to those of you who are still struggling, I'll encourage you any way I can by telling you, it's a great feeling once you finally understand. So, well, that's my little pep talk for the day. No real topics this time. I'll get on to that next time. Just wanted to share this little story, and hopefully maybe it might inspire somebody. Who knows? Until next time, be aware and be wise.